On this 4th of July holiday weekend, I know a lot of people traveling. Several of you are visiting us or have been out to the lake and back, and a lot of people spending time on the road, getting out to someplace to picnic and camp, have a campfire, see fireworks, cool off by a lake. We're on the road a lot in this season of the year, which means that we get to see lots of those orange signs that say road construction. It's the other part of the national holiday. And when you see them, there's a few ways. I've had different responses from folks like, oh great, they're finally fixing that road. Or, because there's a detour. I got to go out of my way. See, I want you to think about it, because whenever you see road construction, it means something's wrong. Something's got to get fixed. There's a problem. It might be a pothole, or a bridge, or a culvert, or a design. Something isn't right. Which is why either you can't go that way, or you can't come this way, or maybe you can't get there at all. You got to go around it. Interesting that road construction can teach us something about life. Because the same thing that's true for road construction is true for our relationships. Sometimes there's a problem that's keeping us from going one way or coming back another. Or if I can put it this way, sometimes there's a problem that's keeping us from saying something or hearing something important. Sometimes there's an obstacle that's keeping us from one another. It ain't road construction, it's an obstacle. This is what Ezekiel and Jesus encounter in the scriptures today. Ezekiel is told by God, I want you to go to this group of people, and they're not going to like hearing what you have to say. In fact, they're going to reject it. In fact, they're going to look at you with their arms folded and their hearts hardened, and they aren't going to want to listen. But I still want you to go and talk to them. There's a cheering thought. It's picked up in a different way when Jesus goes home. He goes to the place where the people all knew him, knew his family, knew his connections. And they had heard that suddenly this hometown kid that they knew is now curing and healing and teaching prophetically. And they reject him. They reject the native son. They can't get over the obstacle that, well, we know you. Why would we listen to you? Why would we follow you? In both cases, you got obstacles. In both cases, something is blocking people either being able to speak or being able to hear an important message. It happens in our lives all the time. There are times when we know we are called to say something important, something needs to be said, and we hold back because we feel uncomfortable, awkward, out of place, because we don't want to stir things up, because we don't want that problem to come back, because we know that emotions run a little high, because we know we've been hurt or someone's been hurt and we just don't want to deal with it. Or maybe something has something important to tell us. Maybe someone is trying to tell us a message and we don't want to hear it. Maybe it's pushing our buttons. Maybe we're upset. Maybe we're tuning it out. Rather than focus on when we speak or when we listen, instead today I'd like to say maybe we ought to look at the obstacle. Today I'd like to suggest that maybe if we find some problem in a relationship, today might be a good day to say, what's the problem? What's the elephant in the room? What's the challenge? What's the difficulty? What's the roadblock? What is keeping me from another? Because sometimes we focus on why we can't talk or why we can't listen. Instead, I want to say, what's that block? Let's deal with that. Let's haul that thing out of the way so we can begin the conversation. So friends, today I'd say, what's the obstacle? If we look at any relationships we have, and by the way, not just relationships with the people on earth, but our relationship with the Lord, what are the obstacles that are keeping us from God or one another? If there's something keeping us from God, if there's something keeping us from confession, then maybe today we ought to look at it. Maybe today we ought to call it what it is. how something that has happened is keeping us from being able to draw near to Jesus. And if there are things in our life that are keeping us from one another, old hurts, old wounds, old situations, bad blood, difficult challenges, what is it we have been holding on to that is keeping us from reaching out? Maybe today's a good day to name it. Just name it. I realize very quickly, I'm not going to stand up here and say this is easy. This is intensely personal, and it is intensely private, and it is intensely powerful. Because it's only things like that that keep us from one another. But God calls us into community. And if God is inviting us to draw near and something's blocking us, then today might be a really good day to say, what is it? Now, once we've named it, and once we know what's keeping us from others, then we got to figure out now, how am I going to haul it out of the way? And frankly, folks, sometimes we look at it and say, this is too big for me. I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to begin. This problem, this obstacle, this roadblock, I don't even know where to start. And that's when we turn to the psalm response and the second reading. Our eyes are fixed on the Lord. That in our weakness, as St. Paul writes, we claim Jesus. We say, Lord, I need help here. Lord, this problem, this situation, this circumstance, this difficulty, I don't have it. I need your help. I need your strength. I need something from you because it is bigger than me. And I'm going to turn to you. I'm going to look to you and I'm going to say, Lord, will you touch this? And that's why we have to name the obstacle. What is it we are going to bring to Jesus? Let's tell him clear. Lord, I'm asking for help with this. I'm asking for help with that. Lord, I need your guidance here with this part of my life. He died and rose on a cross to set us free. He's the one who has the power and grace. And friends, today when we come up to make our Holy Communion, we invite him into our lives for the strength and courage and wisdom we need to face the problems that are before us today and say, Lord, help. Lord, please heal. Because the minute God can come and take the obstacle away, now we can say what needs to be said and we can hear what needs to be heard. There are important things that we need to communicate to the people in our life, and we need the avenue to do it. And friends, there are important things that we need to take into our lives that others need to share with us, and we need to hear it. That can only happen when the obstacles are pulled away so that the grace of being together with one another and with the Lord can happen. May we today name the obstacle and then ask the Lord for the grace and strength to remove it so that the word we need to say and hear can be proclaimed. God bless you all.